This is day 2, part 1 of our second day in Johannesburg, South Africa. We woke up to this amazing breakfast spread every morning at the Marriott. It had so many fresh fruits, grains, coffees, teas, pastries, omelets, made to order, everything you can imagine they had. Look at all these different grains. It was such clean eating and healthy eating. My favorite was the croissants with pineapples and chicken sausage and their potatoes. That was my go-to each morning. They even had honey from a honeycomb. It was delicious. I put that in my tea. Here are some of the apartments and condos and townhomes in just Johannesburg as we're on our way to Constitution Hill. Some very nice homes that we saw. Here we are at Constitution Hill, and we are going into a cell that many of the prisoners were imprisoned. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, day 2 was a heavy day with seeing the harsh and inhumane conditions that these prisoners had to live in. They would pack 60 to 80 prisoners in this small cell, and sometimes even more. Here it talks about the communal cells, as well as the type of bedding that the prisoners would received based on if they were white prisoners or non-white prisoners. Now, although this cell was used for 60 to 80 prisoners, they did have gang leaders and their second in command that would take up half of that space for themselves to make their living conditions a little bit more bearable. So in this section here, you will see how the gang leaders and their second in command made a little bit more comfortable area for themselves. They will also take the blankets from the other prisoners and lower in command in the gangs. And since they took up half that area, the other half of the cell would now be even tighter for those 60 to 80 other prisoners. Robert Sabuko and Muhammad Gandhi were also prisoners here. We also learned about the meals that the prisoners would receive based on them being Africans, colored and Asians, and whites. And as you can see, the Africans' daily food options and diet were the worst of the worst. Here's the outside courtyard area where they would work out or eat their meals. The prisoners gave testimonials about how inhumane the conditions were there, and the diseases and the filth and the blankets and the utensils, the clothing. Here are their outside restrooms that they had to use. Johannesburg has all 4 seasons, so they would go outside to shower even in the winter months. The water was cold. They had 30 minutes to shower amongst the prisoners. The gang leaders would take up the majority of that time, not leaving much time for the other prisoners to shower. And keep it in mind, it can be really cold in the winter in Johannesburg, South Africa, and they're showering outside with no covering in cold water. Here are some of the whips and the chains that were used to punish the prisoners. And this is inside of another of the prison cells. On the screen, they had testimonials from prisoners that talked about the punishment that they received. Such harsh punishments. They experienced beatings. We also took a visit to the deep dark hole. This is where prisoners would be isolated for 23 hours out of the day in these very tiny cells. Dark, cold, lonely. Separated from other prisoners with no interaction. As you can imagine, it drove many prisoners insane. Here's some of the pictures of the graffiti that the prisoners would write on the inside of the walls while in these dark hole cells. Here's one of the cells up close so you can see inside. They also had this one cell that was dedicated for the harshest punishment. They would leave that door open and douse the prisoner with cold water in the freezing winter months. As you can imagine, many prisoners did not survive. Here's the inside of a court where they still hold court proceedings and hearings in South Africa. This is us with our tour guide. She was amazing, had a wealth of knowledge and information. And here we are at Mandela's cell, where he was imprisoned for 2 weeks before being transferred to Robben Island. His cell was on the side of the fort within the hospital. They tried to keep Nelson Mandela away from as many prisoners as possible. And on the other side here, they had different artifacts from Nelson Mandela, like letters that he wrote, pictures, and things of those nature. These South African high school students did a shout out to Zion.